Hi, listeners. We want to tell you about a podcast we're really digging. It's called Christopher Kimball's Milk Street Radio. Every week, they travel the world to find the most fascinating stories about food, including children who harvest cod tongues after school in Norway and a detective who tracks down food thieves. And on Milk Street Radio, you can always find the unexpected. The comedian who ranks apples using an elaborate 100-point system, the secret history of grocery stores, and how to eat your way through Italy. They also interview the most beloved names in food like Jacques Pepin, Sola Aweli, Jose Andres, Jet Tila, Ina Garten, Nigella Lawson, and Padma Lakshmi. Plus, co-hosts Christopher Kimball and Sarah Moulton do live calls with listeners and answer their questions about ingredients, techniques, and culinary mysteries. Like, why roasting a leg of lamb made one caller's oven explode? Ever wonder why your bread won't rise or your souffle falls flat? Chris and Sarah have the answers. You'll also hear from a rotating cast of contributors, including Kenji Lopez-Alt, Cheryl Day, Dan Pashman from The Sporkful, and Alex Ainuz, a French guy cooking from YouTube. Take a listen at 177milkstreet.com/radio or just search your podcast app for Milk Street Radio.
I'm Lou Bank.
And I'm Greg Benson.
And this is an ad for Ancestral Agave Syrup, the critically acclaimed award-winning syrup that helps gringo bartenders better make margaritas,
Wait,
Negronis,
Lou, hold up. Wait,
old
are you just...
fashions?
This is how you start your podcast.
What?
It's not an ad for Ancestral Agave Syrup.
Well, of course it is. I'm just cutting costs by not paying writers to make something new. I'm just using an old script.
You pay writers?
Is that some kind of jab?
No, I'm just saying that...
What are you saying?
Well, look, we've got this amazing syrup that's made in an ancestral manner, cooked down from the sap of the agave, harvested the way these families would to make pulque. It's a quality product. It deserves a quality presentation.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Ancestral agave syrup is made by real families following traditional methods. Unlike the industrial Blue Weber syrup you get everywhere else, Ancestral is cooked down from aguamiel, harvested from Salmiana in Hidalgo, Mexico. It is the grade A Vermont maple to the sticky diner syrup you've been using for your cocktails. Ingredients matter, both in how your cocktail tastes and how you treat the earth. Ancestral is better for both. Is that good?
Sure. Or maybe confusing instead of cheesy. Look, just visit ancestralagave.com to learn more and to order your world-class agave syrup today.
And we'll call that a wrap. Catch you next ad, Greg.
Hasta pronto?
Ancestral Agave Syrup. Available online at ancestralagave.org and wherever Greg and Lou are able to coerce store owners into carrying it.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues. That Sam is gonna get you son in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Sother Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson. And dude, we survived. We did it.
I mean, for me, it's not quite over. And we're, of course, talking about the fact that we've just slogged through BCB and the amazing lineup of things. But boy, oh boy, I had a lot of events that I worked, and I am exhausted from it. And capping it off for me, I still have to finish up NOLA Spirits, which I sit on every year. And this year, they didn't fly us down to do the tasting. They sent us samples.
Ooh.
And so I've got maybe, I don't know, 25 or 30 more samples to get done before tomorrow. Plus tonight I have my monthly show down at the Navy Yard. Yeah, buddy, it's been a week. How about you? How was BCB?
Do you ever wonder sometimes if the daywalkers, the normies out there hear us complaining about like, oh my God, I had to go to so many parties and drink so many delicious spirits. And it was just, but it is guys. Do not try this at home. Like
Listen, loved
it. I had an amazing time. I always do. But, between especially now that I'm like doing more writing, between trying to be like, Johnny on the spot professional by day, rakish cocktail swilling bon vivant by night. It is an exhausting lineup of fun and friends and people that I rarely get to see in person in 3 dimensions. Like you, actually. I went to your event on Monday and it was great.
That's right. It's not for the weak or faint of heart. I know people do listen to us, of course, and I talk to them all the time, and they're jealous of us, and they should be, to be honest. Like, we got the second best job there is, right? And neither one of us was going to be an astronaut. So, it's a lot, and I know that people maybe are jealous of us, but it's a lot of work, right? It's still work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the being on. I think that's what it is. It's the like having to
the emotional, social battery drain, right?
Yes.
And then even after that event that you came to that I worked on Monday night, which had a massive turnout, that was the beginning. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already whipped. And then I had to get through Tuesday and yesterday and now today. And, it's a lot. But it's super fulfilling, man. I've had a great time. BarkCon event in Brooklyn really kicked it up this year. I think I heard from some of the people who were involved that numbers were up by about 50% over last year for attendance. I saw that there were far, far more. Jen Marshall every year puts out her spreadsheet of everything that's going on at BCB, and there were far, far more activations happening this year than in previous years. The only thing, the big complaint that I hear from everyone, including myself, is the location. Still just not in love with Industry City. Like, a good layout for a thing like this, a good sizable place where you can really do the thing, but just uncomfortably difficult to get to and from in New York. And I live in Brooklyn. And I live in
is
Brooklyn.
It Sother? Is it difficult to get to from New York? Because let me tell you, if you live in Bay Ridge, New York's coolest neighborhood of 2028, getting to Industry City is easy, breezy, beautiful, cover girl. It is so simple, and I love that it's in Industry City. Please, if you have any say in this and you're listening to the show, never move it. Keep it there.
You are one of the few. I'd rather see it back up maybe in Greenpoint where it was before. It's just so, for instance, yesterday I was at BCB down in Industry City and then had to leave very early in the afternoon because my next commitment was at 4:00 in Midtown. So to travel so far meant that it just cut out a lot of my time at BCB.
This is true, but I don't know. We're splitting hairs. It was a lovely time.
A great activation. Happy to have something like this in New York City. To draw people in and to get to, as you said, a lot of reunion going on. You get to see a bunch of old friends, people coming in doing activations, working bars, shaking drinks, pouring tastes. A lot of fun.
And it's just so nice to like put faces and and handshakes and cocktails and hugs to people that most of the time are just email addresses in your inbox. And
getting to see and high five people who just gotten on the the top 10 list over at Tales of the Cocktail. Like, I don't know, really exciting. People are jazzed. It's kicking off summer. Like, it's all good. I'm not in love with the location. I'm not in love with the location, Greg.
Well, I am, and got to see some people, got to rock some fun tank tops at the event. So like you said, it's summer, it's great, and seeing people in person. Speaking of which, this is actually a rarity. I have seen both of the people joining me on the Speakeasy today in person in the last 4 days. You, of course, at your Overholt event.
It seems like 4, Greg, but it's 2. It was 2 days.
That was not. What? Oh my God. In the 70 years that we've all aged since Sunday that this was on. Anyway, I also got the pleasure of seeing on Monday my friend Austa Somvichian-Clausen, who is in the studio with us right now. So we get to double dip this week. Austa, so good to see you again, and thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah. Hey, love a double dip.
Absolutely.
Austa, talk to us a little bit about yourself. First of all, let us know what you're into and what you do. You're mostly a writer, but we know we're going to talk about something later in the show, but I want to talk about what you do to make you who you are.
I mean, first of all, one of the things about me is that I live in Sunset Park, which is a 15-minute walk from Industry City. So
I'm outnumbered on this episode.
You're not going to win this argument today, Sother.
You're not going to win this argument. It's like
wasn't very convenient for Damon, but he's not here.
And
He
yet
didn't
I
even make
didn't
it at
even
all.
go. I didn't even go to BCB. Earlier when we were talking and I go, oh yeah, well, I stopped going to BCB events after Monday. You go, started on Tuesday. Oops.
Right.
By Tuesday, we were already exhausted.
Yeah, sorry, organizers. I had 3 events stacked just on Monday, and I think that that's a testament to what you both were saying, that
Yeah.
there's so much going on and so much interest for, kind of the drinks world. And I think that also it's bringing more to Industry City. Like now there's Bitter Monk, which I've been meaning to check out, and
Yes.
all that.
Cool.
Anyways, that has nothing to do with me. Yes. I just like to yap.
Well, you've come to the right
Works
place.
perfect for radio.
I am Austa. I am a writer. I'm originally from LA area, went to school in Washington, DC for environmental science and journalism. And then I got my start at a really amazing place that I had always dreamed of working at, which was National Geographic. I covered environmental news there and did a lot of project management. And before that, I did a lot of bitch work there. And then I moved up to New York to work for apartment therapy. I've kind of moved around a lot in the journalism world. So I've done interior design, food and drink, travel, enviro, what have you. And I think that that's what I love now about being a freelancer is I'm very decisively indecisive and I don't like to be pigeonholed. And I like working on a number of different projects and stories all at once. So that's kind of something about me. I live in Brooklyn, you already know, in Sunset Park. But I write for several different outlets, and that's always interesting. It's a very interesting time to be in media. I write for Thrillist, VinePair, Nat Geo, Savor, Inside Hook, Rob Report, Cool Hunting, and several others. Men's Journal. So
I mean, it sounds like you're sort of like a polyglot, right? You enjoy tackling a lot of different topics and like getting into the granular bits of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mainly like having no free time.
Yep.
Well, I think
Greg and I
that's the cool.
We subscribe to that mentality as well.
I know that. Yeah. I think that the cool thing about being a journalist, like one of the reasons why I got into it and one of the reasons why I keep doing it, even though it doesn't pay enough, is that, you get to be a lifelong learner. And every time you get a new story assignment, you are becoming kind of a micro expert on a niche topic. And I think that it not only leads to you having more interests and having more interest in your life in general, but it also leads to meeting really cool people, having amazing experiences that no one else gets, which I think, to your point earlier about getting to go to these events and people being like, us being like, oh, woe is me. It is really difficult and it is a slog, but we are also so fortunate, to do what we do.
Sure. I would refer back to the old adage, right? You can't be interesting if you're not interested, right? And I think that it sounds to me like you're quite interested, which is making you interesting. And that's why we have you on. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
as interesting as we can all be after all of the events this week. But, I love what you said earlier about, like you become, that's honestly one of my favorite things about being a writer as well, is that you, like you said, you get an assignment. It's like, okay, you have 4 days to become a passable expert in this topic. And we were talking off air. I got very excited when you mentioned a specific Icelandic fast food chain. And because you are Icelandic, I did not want to Iceland-splain to you, but I, several years back, pitched a story about that McDonald's ripoff that they have in Iceland called Metro. And so like, I still had all of the facts about it, like right there, ready to go. I'm like, oh, did you know that they converted them from McDonald's into Metros overnight? So yeah, it's just all of these, like these fun things that you get to learn. But I am kind of new to the journalism game. I sort of switched it up from being a bartender to being someone who writes about bartending. And everyone says it's an interesting time to be a writer, and they put that little, the air quotes around interesting. Yeah, exactly. And I just sort of smile and nod because this is the only time I've ever known what it's like to be a writer. But could you unpack that for us a little bit? Like, what do you mean, and how is the work that you're doing and the climate you release it into, how has that changed over the past couple of years?
I mean, I think even you saying you have 4 days to become a micro expert on a topic and turn in copy. Sometimes it can take a writer 4 days to think of a lead. Like, I think before, and this was even before my time, by the time I got into journalism, which was in 2017, I graduated college in 2016. It was already that way to an extent and has only gotten arguably worse. But when I speak to professionals who have been in the field for 20 plus years, they'll all tell me I used to have a month or at least a few weeks to work on a story, and they were all on staff. And, if they had to go check out a new destination, like they were getting flown out by the publication, or if they had to go check out a restaurant, they were coming in secret through the dollars of the publication. But unfortunately, as things have come online, I think no one could have foreseen what would have happened, which was, obviously the web blowing up and everything is online now. So I think that most publications did not get into order at the offset. Their membership model, they didn't know how to create or even to create a paywall. And so I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, just the general reading public, thinks that journalism should be free. I think that there's some forms of journalism, like necessary journalism, that should be free. But when you're reading something like, National Geographic or Punch or, things that are more of a particular interest, I do think that you should be paying for that, because you wouldn't go to an attorney and say, hey, can you do this for free? Maybe you would pro bono, but you know what I mean? You wouldn't go to most professionals and just ask them for their work for free and demand it angrily. And so I think that is why things have changed so much for journalists today and makes everything so difficult, because as you know, Greg, we as journalists are now working so much with public relations experts. We're working with PR firms to set up restaurants, to set up bars, visits to those places, and also hotels, whatever, it could be, getting new products to review. And so it does create, I think, a different dynamic for journalists in general, and lead times are much shorter. Budgets are much tighter. And also the stories that are being assigned have a certain level of necessity for it to be kind of clickable. A lot of people talk about clickbait, which is definitely a thing. Everything is about SEO now and what's going to perform on social. So that was a long answer, but I hope that is helpful.
No, it's a great answer. And, I talk to a lot of my friends who are journalists, and, I do some, here and there writing. I wouldn't call myself a journalist, but, I know that the positions in the field are reducing year over year. And, there's less and less of these positions because of, who knows, right? The expansion of the internet and easy access to information means that I don't have to have as many options to choose from when I can choose from all of them, right? I need less of them, to be honest. It's a little bit strange, right? Local papers are dying and disappearing because, the giant ones have dominated the field. And then, as you just said, I think, I looked it up before the show, the number one place that people are getting news right now is YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
a lot
nuts.
of people are also getting it on TikTok, myself
TikTok's
included.
number 2. Yeah, which is crazy, right? But it's just bite-sized pieces of information that are being shuttled out. But this stuff isn't necessarily vetted or accredited, or so then you don't have true journalism, right? You don't have people that are fact checking, basically.
Yeah, just as a general rule, if the platform you're getting your news from, if you have like a news story and then the next thing that the algorithm serves you is me drinking cocktails shirtless in my shower, you should maybe check the source.
Yeah, or me dancing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what really made me question my life was I was telling someone this maybe a month ago. I was scrolling on TikTok and I got legitimate news. I think it was like a piece of breaking news, international news on TikTok. And it was told in the form of like the talking fish head from SpongeBob.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I watched that guy.
breaking news.
Yeah, I watched that guy. He's one of he's on my Instagram feed.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it's talking. I think it's called Talking Fish, and it is.
Yeah,
and he starts everyone breaking
news.
news.
Yeah. Breaking news. Guess what happened in Gaza today? And I'm like, oh my god. Like,
Exactly.
And it's also, I don't know, part of me is like I want to be a curmudgeon and not like it, but another part of me is like everything. There's so much awful news out there. Like so much of the news is bad that like if you can put a little, spoonful of sugar on that medicine, like, all right, sure, why not? I don't mind having distressing things told to me by a character from a beloved children's TV show.
Right, but sometimes I feel like we've gone too far. We've everything can't be infotainment. Some stuff just needs to be info. But not in the stuff we want to talk about. Let's talk about infotainment, and let's talk about the writing that you do. Hey, look at that segue. Let's talk about the writing you do that's specifically, germane to kind of what we do, which is booze and spirits, and where that's taken you and where it's going to take you. We'll get into talking about Grotto, your project here in New York.
Yeah, that was a smooth segue.
Usually that's Greg's department, but
almost as smooth as my cocktails that I serve at Grotto.
Ooh,
there we go.
Oh, is that for a segue? Yeah,
Nailed it.
I've been writing about cocktails for a long time now, actually longer than I probably should have. I think I started writing about drinks when I was like 24 or something. Mm-hmm. I was going to say something that would have been illegal, so I will hold off of that.
Listen, if it's in the past, there's nothing I can do about it.
I was going to say, I think it's because I've had a fake ID since I was 17. And so by the time I was 23, I was like, I'm not going to have that vodka shot. I'm like, I want an old fashioned.
Oh, please. Yes, exactly.
And look at me now, 30. I'm as bougie as a 60-year-old. Anyways, so I started getting assigned to go to events and cover events and restaurant openings for like a local DC publication. Back when I lived there, it was called Brightest Young Things. I didn't get paid anything. But obviously as a 24-year-old, I was like, oh, cool. I get to go to these events and I get to be the first person to try these new drinks. And I still remember to this day, the drink that I had that made me want to get into drinks writing. It was a spin on an old fashioned, and it had a tiny piece of filet mignon on top of it.
What?
And I was like, oh yeah, sealed the deal for me.
Dinner and a drink, I guess.
Dinner and a drink in one. And
how
I don't
tiny
know.
are we talking here? Was it like, just stop me when I'm there? Like the size of.
This wasn't the Bloody Mary rage with the whole fried chicken on there.
No, it was at a really refined restaurant, and I think it's cool
Sounds
that
like it.
there are there are restaurants and bars that are playing around so much more with drinks, and I don't know. I just loved it and have been getting into it, and I love telling stories of distilleries and cool distillers, and those are some of my favorite stories to tell. And then I've gotten more into developing cocktail recipes, and I have worked at bars. I have not worked as a bartender, but I've very much been in that space. And I had always had a dream of opening a bar. I'm very into hospitality, and at the time that I was thinking about this idea for Grotto, it was right after the pandemic. I was in a long-term queer relationship, and we had started dating like right before the pandemic started. And so we came out of our apartment, kind of like, whoa, we've never gone on dates outside before.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
And we had a few, but most of our relationship had been spent indoors or with friends. And we realized that there really weren't that many options for us to go to. I mean, obviously most places in New York are open. And we're not going to get heckled out of the place for holding hands, but it's more of a representation thing I think we were missing. And, walking into a space and feeling like you don't see anyone else who looks like you or celebrates love the same way that you do, was weird for us. Or also, obviously, as women, and we both present a little more feminine, it was like getting looks, from men and feeling like we don't want to go out to a bar and have date night and feel like we're on display for these freaks. And I never want to be on display for freaks, but that's just what happens. So I was like, I want to start a bar. I don't want freaks looking at me. Let's marry the two and create a sapphic bar. And what sapphic means is it's the root of the word sapphic comes from Sappho, who was a Greek poetess. And she was considered to be, one of the first in written known history, queer female writers, queer female poets. And so it kind of now encapsulates anyone who identifies as queer and loves women, has sexual interest in women. And so it broadens the scope of what used to be a lesbian bar. For myself, I'm identify as pansexual, and I think that especially after the pandemic, there has been this new burst of energy into the queer space and
for sure
into who identifies as being queer. And I think more people are realizing that wide spectrum, and especially young people. I've been doing a ton of research because I'm about to start raising my seed round for a permanent space, and one in three Gen Z women identify as LGBTQ, which is a tremendous, in New York, that's a tremendous amount of like the younger population that is identifying in this way and is missing a space. There used to be over 200 like quote unquote lesbian bars in the country, and there's less than 30 today. And that number,
sure, we've had people on from the Lesbian Bar Project, and they talk about those numbers dwindling like that, and it's a sad state of affairs that these places don't exist, and that there doesn't seem to be enough folks out there like yourself who are creating these spaces again and keeping them going.
Yeah, the Lesbian Bar Project is amazing too. I love those guys over there. Or those women, ladies.
The team.
The team.
Let's go, team.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. And you're right. Like I've hosted at my businesses a little group called the Queer Cocktail Club, and they're not looking for any kind of brick and mortar, but they host happy hours once a month. To they have an Instagram, but they also have like a mailing list, and it creates a safe space for them to go into bars that aren't necessarily specific to that motif, but are certainly open to it. So I've had them at had them at Ateria, had them at Cafe de l'Enfer, I've had them at Amore Margot. It's fun, right? It's fun to have those, but that's just a one-off, and you have to kind of chase it around. And so now you've got Grotto, which again, people are chasing around. Talk a little bit about Grotto, what it is now, and what you just said. You're trying to get some seed money together to make it something more permanent.
Yeah, I've had Queer Cocktail Club reach out to me as well. They seem really great too.
They're quite young and they're very enthusiastic. At all my spots, we did like an educational component. I got up and talked to them about tequila and mezcal at Ateria. I got them talked about absinthe at Cafe de l'Enfer and whatever. So they seem to be like interested in obviously having a space that caters to them, but also learning about bars in general.
I love you educating the gays. I'm
learning about myself.
Queer icon.
Your gay education. Yeah, queer icon over here. You're going to be the ally allowed in my bar.
I mean, not for nothing, I don't talk about it a lot, but, I've been in a relationship with my partner for 11 years, and she identifies as queer, and we date other people, and sorry if I just outed you. She's here somewhere. So yes, I think I have been an ally this whole time,
Yeah. I mean, she is more than welcome to come into Grotto. You guys can both come in together, and, she can cruise, you can drink. It's going to be great.
Everyone wins.
Nobody's going to lose here. That's great.
Yeah, all winners. I keep on getting away from your questions because of my yapping, but
That's okay. We love it. It's the radio. So the question was, let's back up. Let's talk about what Grotto is and what you have envisioned and are going to raise money to make it become.
I mean, so that's always been the thing, right? For queer women, it's been parties or one-off events, and it makes it really tough because at the end of the day, you're trying to create a community and create a community space. And when I talk to queer women, one of the biggest things that we all deal with is making friends, honestly. Like, I think that people make a lot of romantic connections on the apps, but it's tough to make non-romantic connections with other queer women and other queer people in general in real life, because the events that we have available to us many times are DJ events, parties, where you're not really like, it's kind of not kosher to just be standing there like, so what do you think about when you go to sleep at night? Like, even though I do that. So that's kind of the premise of Grotto as well, is trying to help create that, facilitate qualitative connections and qualitative conversation and kind of bridge connections between different parties and different people who identify as sapphic. And I think something that makes us different from the outset is that I haven't done one-off events. Like, I do make people chase me around, but it's not because I want to. I actually never wanted to do pop-ups. I wanted to do a brick and mortar from the get. And it was one of those things where if you want to get something started, you just have to get it started immediately.
Done is better than perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think for me, I was like, if I can find the right space to pop up in for at least a few months, then let's just get this thing started and see if the demand is even there. And then have been planning to use these pop-ups as obviously learning tools for myself. Also, obviously, providing potential investors with proof of concept and proof that people want it. And the first event that I ever did was a Halloween event, which we call in the community Gay Christmas. It's a thing. And it was at Soho House.
Are there gifts involved?
Of a kind.
Not
of a kind, yes.
Yeah, they're wrapped up in some way. Sometimes not.
Yeah.
Wrapped up in a little costume. But yeah, so I did a Halloween event at Soho House at the Ludlow location, which is in the Lower East Side. And at the time, I didn't have any audience. And even for me, I didn't have a huge queer community around me because, again, we were coming out of the pandemic, et cetera. And we sold that event out instantaneously. It was like within an hour, which was crazy. And so that was already like giving me so much hope that women wanted this, and queer folks in general wanted to see this in the world. And then I did a Soho House pop-up. I was there 3 to 4 times a week for 4 months. So it was essentially like a functioning bar. I had all my own cocktails that I had created with their beverage director. I did all the seatings, like all the decor every night, set up and take down. And it was a lot. And then we went on to do a few more pop-ups. We did one with Talea, which is Brooklyn's first women-owned and women-operated brewery, both at their Williamsburg location and their Cobble Hill location. And we actually did a Grotto beer, which was really cool. And it was based off of one of my cocktails that I had created, which was a melon mint highball. It was like a really sessionable kind of weekender beer, and it was delicious. And we also turned it into an alcoholic slushy using super gay vodka. So that was great. And then we did a music series with Pebble Bar, thanks to the Rockefeller Center. And that was really cool because something I'd love to do with Grotto is have kind of like a little tiny desk series, like So Far Sounds meets Gay Tiny Desk. And I have all of these ideas for what I want to see in terms of like ongoing programming. And that's another thing that we're missing out on because it's a pop-up. Now we're at Casino, which is an amazing Italian restaurant in Chinatown. Some of Gen Z likes to call it Dime Square.
Mhm.
And I think it's like a really great location. We're downstairs, which makes it feel very separate. We're there twice a week until the end of this month. But I think being there has made me feel now more than ever like we really need a permanent space to facilitate that connection, you know, to be a home base for queer women to be able to come in and they know that they're going to be able to meet people and people are going to be receptive to making connection and chatting, and they can actually have a delicious cocktail or a bite to eat. There's no queer bars that have food, to my knowledge, at least not that are directed towards women. So
I'm trying to find a way to ask this question that isn't just like, so how do you make it gay? But like, I do kind of wonder, like, what is the, you know, you have this idea. I love this idea, of creating a sapphic space because there's such an endangered species out there in the bar world. And I love the idea of kind of reintroducing this into the wild. But sort of what is step one for you? Like, what is the brand that you envisioned that you're building out? Kind of what is the vibe of it, I guess, is
Yeah,
what I'd
the
like
aesthetic.
to know.
I think that's so much about bringing in the right kind of crowd or like having a target audience is how you market and brand. And so that's something that I've been doing from the get. I think that using the correct imagery, using the right language, like all of that is basically all I needed. And now I already have the audience. Like we have over 5,000 followers on Instagram that are really, really engaged. Our email sends are typically at like a 60 to 70% open rate. So we have a very engaged audience. And I think potentially over the course of like the last month and a half at Grotto at Casino, we've had all of 3 cis men come in. So I think it's just about intention. And I think that people can really read when you have the right intention and what your intentions are. And that's kind of something that I've been trying to do from the offset. I mean, I created kind of like a codex of words and ways that I wanted to market. Like I want it to feel soft and sultry and feminine and, you know, all of these things. And that's not to say that I don't want people who are more masculine presenting to come in. Usually they're like dragged in by their femme girlfriends, but I think so many bars just in general are not really geared towards like that femme persona. And so I think me leaning all the way in, like our kind of like decor is like shells and lace and florals and pearls and all of this stuff that like brass candlesticks and low lighting. It's all this stuff that just naturally would keep men away. Like, you know, you're not going to just be going there for funsies. I think naturally it's just creating a space where my audience wants to come and they see a bit of themselves in what I'm creating. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
I kind of love that. It reminds me of, to be a history geek for a little bit here, the sort of tea room craze that happened about 100 years ago, where, you know, you would have all of these, a lot of them were woman-run businesses all over the country. There were apparently a ton of them in Oklahoma, was a real hotbed of them, of all places. But there were these spaces that would just continually be savaged in the press, when the press was all men back in the day, for being like too dainty and like the portions weren't big enough and like the decor wasn't serious art. And then of course those people who the space is not built for them would just sort of naturally see their own way out, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it helps too that whenever a cis man walks into the space, it's like all heads turn towards the entrance. Like, fuck are you doing here?
But this is another question I wanted to ask, because we're famously not known for being the most observant or self-conscious bunch.
Or environmentally aware.
Yes, we could
situational awareness is at a minimum.
Courteous,
so
polite, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess what is your approach as a proprietor for someone who, you know, like you're a welcoming person, you're in the hospitality industry, you obviously hate telling people no when you're someone who likes to build a hospitable space, but what do you do when someone who, like, the space is not for them doesn't pick up on that?
Oh, are you kidding? I get off on telling people no. Like I love it.
Well, that solves that problem.
Yeah, right. No is my love language. No.
Yeah. And every time I tell someone no, everyone in the bar goes, yeah, whoa. You know, I mean, what I do is, you know, if like a guy comes in, usually it's by accident. They're just trying to get to the restaurant. But if they do come in, I'm like, hey, I think you're lost. And if they're like, no, I'm not lost, I'm trying to go to this, I'm kind of like, well, here's what the concept is and here's who it's made for. If you understand that and you're an ally, you're welcome in the space. You know, I mean, you can't just force people out. I'm pretty sure maybe I would potentially get sued for that. But I make sure at least that every guest knows. And that's something that I really want to be a big part of the permanent concept as well. Having, you know, a team, especially front of house team, that is very understanding of kind of like making people versed in what Grotto's culture is and what we're trying to create here. And I think that there are already, fortunately, some bars that do that. Like, I don't know if either of you have been to House of Yes in Bushwick, but whenever you go,
many times.
Of course, Greg's been. But before you go to an event,
I've worked there many times.
There you go. You guys know, but for the listeners who don't know, before you walk into this space, and it's like a huge kind of club in Bushwick, but it's very queer friendly. You go to the front, and before they let you in, they're like, this is a place where we don't tolerate hate. We don't tolerate unwanted touching. This is a space that's created for everyone. We want everyone to feel comfortable. And if you do not abide by those standards, you will be asked to leave or you will be taken out. And that is something I have no problem.
They're very good at setting that expectation right at the door. And I think that that's certainly something you'll probably have to become quite versed at as well if you're going to continue to pursue this. And I hope you do. So Grotto is going on right now at, I'm sorry, say the name of the restaurant again.
Casino,
right.
Casino,
And it's just 2 days a week?
2 days a week. It's every Wednesday and Thursday. And something fun that we've added on in this iteration that I've never done before is Grotto After Dark. So that's on Thursdays. Oh, Grotto After Dark. It's
lean in on the mic.
It's Thursdays at 10 p.m. We're here at Grotto After Dark. I don't know.
Love it. Nailed it. WILN Radio, Island 106, reaching the beaches.
We're
and
coming at you
lakes.
Live. You just want us to be radio. Anyway, so I think
we are. It is.
Yeah. It's every Thursday at 10 p.m. on, and it's kind of like our iteration of a more dancey kind of meet whomstever vibe. Usually, you know, people are seated, and a lot of people come in on dates or with their friends. I have a lot of people who come for special occasions, which is very cute. I had 2 couples who came in last Thursday, same seating. I think they were like legitimately at the tables next to each other, who were both like officiating their relationships, you know, a little, will you be my girlfriend action. So that was very cute. But with that being said, it also means that sometimes people are like intimidated to chat with each other. That's also why I do social seating. So when you create a Grotto reservation, you have to choose from a drop down that says how social you feel like being that night. So maybe you're on a date that night, and so you're saying like, I'm not looking to meet anyone tonight. But maybe you are with your partner, but you guys just want to make some new friends. Then you can say, I'm looking to meet people tonight, and I try to if the space allows, seat parties together so that they can meet. Like last night when I was there, I sat 3 parties of 2 together at a 6-top. And then they all end up becoming best friends. They trade info, they're drinking together. And it's so different from just meeting randomly at the bar and having a short conversation and then going off and doing your thing. It's like you actually have the time and the space to have enough of a conversation that you could form a true friendship with someone, over that span of time.
Man, I love that.
Which is nice.
Is there a platform you're doing that on, or is it you have to do it on your own, like a Google Doc?
I use a platform that's in beta called ResOS, and I don't know if anyone from ResOS listens to this podcast, but it is the bane of my existence.
Sure they do.
I can't wait to get on Resi. But yeah.
But it offers you this cool drop down of sociability preference, red to green or whatever. I think that's very, very intuitive and cool, especially for the space that you're trying to design, which is to make it comfortable. As you said earlier in the show, this community has difficulty finding and making friends that aren't specifically, set out to be romantic, right?
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant little key piece. I typically am the one who likes to talk about business on the show. Let's talk a little bit about that before we get to the end. When you're doing these pop-ups that have moved, and these are more residencies, right? You're staying somewhere for a little while each time.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Are you bringing your own team? Like, who's behind the bar? You're creating the drinks you mentioned, but who's serving those drinks? Or are you using the teams at the places that you go to? And how does all of that kind of work?
I'm using the teams at the places that I go to, and I always request that if there are women or queer people on staff, that they are the ones who staff the events. Like at Casino, our resident bartender who staffs every single event, every seating, is queer and non-binary. So that makes a huge, huge difference. And I mean, I definitely want to try to nab them. Sorry, also, if anyone who works for casinos.
The casino team is listening.
We're spilling all the tea today on this show. Oh, my goodness.
I can't keep a secret.
I'm here to poach your team.
I'm here to. They're really
Thanks
good.
For the space.
Kudos to them.
Gotta go. I'm packing up my stuff and your team as well.
Yeah, but that's what's been interesting. It's like every pop-up I have a very different team, and it's been so interesting to get feedback from guests on how, the serving staff really creates their experience as well. Like people love the staff that I have at Casino, and I think it's because they're very well versed in kind of like what I'm trying to create, and they believe in the vision as well. And I think that for any team, any hospitality team especially, that's so important.
Yeah, of course, you have to get your team in line with your vision and give them some ownership of it as well, so that they can feel like they have part and say. I mean, I think this is very cool, and I am very excited for your success. What is the next step in raising that seed money? Well, I guess 2 questions here. How much longer are you going to be at Casino? Do you have a next place to go in mind? And then tertiarily, when are you planning to start that seed money? And then what comes from that?
Okay, so
that was a lot of question. I'm sorry, mouthful.
I'm at Casino until the end of the month. So
okay,
we have a few events coming up. We actually have 2 events this month, also at Talea, my former beer partner, at their West Village location, and we're doing a sapphic book event that is sponsored by Mod. So everyone who comes to the event is walking away with a vibrator. Huzzah! And
love a good giveaway.
Greg's gonna sneak in and be like,
I got so enthusiastic about that.
I'm here for the event.
I knocked the cord right out of my headphones. There we go.
So we have that coming up this next Tuesday, and that sold out like so quick. All of our events are like hotcakes, which I'm so happy about. We also have a huge Pride event there.
You got a huge hole in the market that you're filling, and I can't imagine you're not being filled up right away. It's great.
Yeah, with that Mod vibrator.
Well,
Everybody loves swag, man.
Everybody the allure of free. Anything free, I'll take it.
Yeah, open up that swag bag. So we've got those two events, and then we're at Casino. All of our reservations are open to book at Casino through the end of the month. You can find them on our Instagram at grotto.nyc. And then we haven't announced this yet, but we're doing one last Pride event because we just have had so much demand. It's going to be at Casetta, which is a wine bar also in the same neighborhood as Casino, owned by the same team as Casino. It's a really sweet space, and we're going to be doing that on Pride Sunday starting at 6 p.m. And that is a free event that anyone can go to. So that's going to be really fun. And at all of these events, I'm going to be putting on the bottom of the menu a QR code for Grotto's fundraising, which I'm just about to start. And that will run, in tandem with the private equity funding that I'm going to be doing later this summer. I'm probably going to be starting that around August, but I am already starting to actually had a meeting with an investor this morning. So if anyone's interested, and if there are any rich lesbians who are interested, or Sother, then please let me know.
What I like to do is open bars.
Yeah, you're basically going to open the bar for your wife. This is a love letter to her. Yeah. And so my timeline is I'm going to really start. I'm nailing down all the details of the raise this and next month, and then we're starting it up hot in August. I'm hoping to close the round by December latest and get it popping on a space for a soft open next Pride Month.
Amazing.
I love that. That's amazing.
Are you looking at any specific neighborhoods?
I am, and I've been looking at those neighborhoods through surveying, which is always good. So I'm looking at Lower Manhattan, so around maybe East Village-ish area, catch some of that runoff from Joyface. And then the secondary location I'm looking at is Fort Greene, Clinton Hill. And those are my primary markets right now. Yeah.
Both those areas are ripe for the picking. Of course, all my spots are in the East Village, and I love that area. And I think, the more the merrier. The high tide raises all boats. We all like to think that people are going to come to our bar for the entire night, but people like to move around. And so the easier it is for them to move around, the more people you'll have.
100%. Both of those areas obviously have fantastic concepts. They're all easy to get to in public transit, and I think and they have great foot traffic. So here's to hoping.
Yeah. Easy to get to, just like Industry City is.
Full circle, Greg. Full circle. Way to go. All right. I'll bite my tongue on that one. Austa, so lovely having you on to talk about this concept. I'm all for it and for your success. I will happily probably at least peruse your documents and see if there's any investment opportunity there, because I do love opening bars. But really appreciate your time and being on with us. I would like to ask one final question. How are you finding time to operate this pop-up and still, operate your life and be a writer? Like, it seems like opposing forces there.
I just don't sleep.
Yeah.
It's only half a joke. I mean, I do all my writerly duties in the morning and then cry a little in the afternoon and then go to Grotto. So
sure, a good cry nap and then
a little cry nap.
Have we just invented a portmanteau? Oh no.
Whatever cleanses your soul, really just kind of
yes.
Yeah, a little mid-afternoon disassociation, and then I'm on to the next. But it's been great.
Well,
no, I feel you on that one. Like, I think something a thread that runs through the people that are drawn to this industry is that we're all terrible at relaxing. Like I hear my doctor friends complain about someone so-and-so is a bad patient. Some people are just bad at that. I'm miserable whenever I have to take it easy. I hate taking it easy. Whenever I do, I'm just like, this sucks.
I throw a party every night of my life, and I don't know how to be at a party.
Oh,
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I agree. I
Yeah,
100% agree.
Austa, if people want to follow you and follow what Grotto is doing, what are some good ways to get in touch? Where can they follow you on the great World Wide Web that we have?
They can follow me on the gram as well as Grotto. My Instagram is at Austa Clausen, AustaClausen, as in Nancy. And then Grotto's is at grotto.nyc. And you can find us on TikTok too at the same app.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting because I know I get served some of your content on TikTok every now and again because I guess we're pals and the algorithm knows that. But yeah, every now and again I'll get a little Grotto of it. I'm like, oh, fun, good for them. But yeah, it looks like a beautiful space, and we'll be sure to drop all of those in the show notes as well, so that you listening at home can follow along with everything that Austa and Grotto are up to. But that is going to do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. I did want to mention one fun thing that a mutual friend of Southern Eyes is up to. The Rumbelievable box from Shaker and Spoon arrived at my doorstep yesterday. Souther, we both have drinks in there, and it's very good. I'm giving myself a day to recover from BCB before I dive into the rest of it, but I'm very, very happy with how mine turned out, and I'm excited to try yours.
Well, mine might soothe you. It's called Doctor's Orders.
Ooh.
So it might set you back to right.
But we just talked about how bad I am at being soothed. I'm at my most calm when I'm incredibly stressed out. So maybe I'll just throw a little Celsius in there or something like that and get a good mixture.
It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, life is about finding balance, is what we're saying on this show here today.
Yeah.
But for now, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to check out Heritage Radio Network for more great shows just like this one. But in the meantime, cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock.
The Speakeasy is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Food and drink radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.
It's gonna get you